coming up on this brand new edition of Don't Panic. We've got a lot of tech news to talk about, and by that I mean there's really not that much because it's the middle of the summer, but we did find some stories, including we're going to talk about the launch of Microsoft Groove. We're also going to talk about bigger than Black Friday, it's Prime Day. We're going to talk about getting Windows 10 in July or August or September or whenever Microsoft gives it to you. BlackBerry and my Android and so much more. It's a packed episode of Don't Panic, and we're going to launch it for you right now. This is Don't Panic, episode number 97, recorded July 6th, 2015, on Droidberry, finger-free snaps, and celebrating Prime Day. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this edition of Don't Panic, the technology podcast that still doesn't understand how Apple Music works. I'm Sean Jennings, and I am joined, as always, by the man who will buy a Ted Cruz campaign t-shirt just to wear it, ironically, 10 years from now. It's Dan Miller.
Howdy, everybody.
How's it going this week, Dan?
Much better. My throat doesn't hurt anymore.
Yeah, you
I can
sounded
breathe
smooth.
through both nostrils consistently.
Wow.
Like, you know when you're sick, you can only breathe through one for just a couple, or you can breathe through both for just a couple seconds. You're like, oh, this feels great. I'm on the path to feeling better. Everything's, and then one of them clogs up like a couple seconds after that. I don't miss those days.
Well, it's a good time to be feeling good. We just had July 4th, our Independence Day here in the United States. Did you do anything exciting for the weekend, Dan?
I did too many exciting things for the weekend.
What?
I did fireworks. I traveled. I went to the beach. I, drank lots of not so good for you food and beer. All the things that make up a good American holiday. How about you?
Oh, to be honest, I didn't do much. The weather wasn't super great for outdoor stuff, and then, believe it or not, I actually did a lot of work this weekend. I'm kind of in the middle of a big project, and so I actually worked this weekend. Can you believe that?
Oh, I can.
You can. Yes, Dan. You've been there. Yeah, so that's how it happens. But we did have something new over the last week, and we're going to talk about it because I think this is a good opener. There's no news story here. This is really just sort of our,
Also, no Colby to interrupt us and slow us down.
Yeah, exactly. I really think he's been weighing us down. He's in a vehicle somewhere in the greater Rhode Island, Massachusetts area. He claims he might join us by the end of the show, but I guess that'll just be a surprise for you, the fans at home. But I want to talk a little bit about Apple Music, which launched last week with the release of iOS 8.4. The new service from Apple we've talked about on the show here before, but just quickly some highlights. It's a paid subscription service. You get access to all the musics. There's also the radio feature with Beats One Radio, and then there's also the Connect feature, which is sort of the built-in social network piece of it as well. Dan, have you had the opportunity to try out Apple Music?
Yeah, I did. My first impressions were that the apps, both the iOS app was the first one I tried because it came out first on iOS, and it's just a little confusing. It doesn't really seem to follow a lot of the other UI designs that other iOS apps have. Like the ribbon on the bottom, what's the difference between For You and My Music, and like radio has like the Beats One Radio and then these other radio stations, but those radio stations are different from the playlists that show up in For You. And Connect really feels like a completely separate app. But then on the top, you've got this search thing that you can open up and search for songs. And when you do that, it overlays, it doesn't bring you into one of those tabs. It's now its own thing, right? So, yeah, now on the bottom, it says it's on the For You screen, but you're looking at, search results. So that was a little bit confusing. Things I really like, or things I like, I like Beats One Radio. It's really interesting. I like listening to it early in the morning, so you get the guy from London, because he plays music from more all over the world than the later people seem to be more US-centric. So it's, cool to be listening to hear like a French or an Italian pop song come on that, I've never heard before. Other than that, I don't really like the music they play, but I can tell that it's sort of like, a quality thing. The thing I really like is on the For You screen. So if you go to your For You screen, Sean, I wonder what things did it. Yeah, and I have to cancel out those stupid search
Yeah,
results.
I did the little so it has the little recommendation bubbles where you put in your genres and then the artists you like. I did it, and it's actually pretty accurate if you know me. 80s rock, slow dance, intro to Toto, Britney Spears. It's pretty.
Yeah, and the playlists are really well done. Like I really like those intro ones because it's recommended me a couple things that I hadn't heard of, and the intro is really good. It's like, oh, okay, so here's like maybe some of their more popular stuff, well liked stuff in the beginning, and then maybe some of their weirder, more modern stuff at the end. And that's a really cool way to get into things. And all of the playlists I've listened to on the For You screen that have like themes, I've liked way better than the Spotify themed playlists.
Mhm.
They seem more coherent, and I'm shocked at how many of them there are. I expected there to just be like a couple, or to maybe hit the popular genres really hard with a lot of the playlists. But there are tons of jazz playlists. Here is Fish the Influences playlist, which I hadn't seen until just now.
Wow.
Like, yeah, some really in-depth narratives on bands, and the influences ones are pretty cool too. Like, what inspired this artist you might like? Yeah, so I think the a couple other nags. It's not as fast to start songs as Spotify,
Mhm.
but Spotify is like obscenely fast, like local. So that's something I miss a bit. I can't look at, or I haven't been able to figure out how to look at my music that's on my device, because if I'm in the subway and I don't have service, I don't want to be looking at all the songs that I can't listen to because I don't have service. I just want to see the ones that I can see. Even a visual indicator would be nice, but if you scroll through just the artists or the albums, it doesn't show you like, oh, some of these songs are available to play now. But overall, I really like it. 3 months from now, we'll see if I stop using Spotify. The other thing it does better than Spotify, I'm just remembering now, is integration with on-device music and cloud music. So there's an album that isn't available to stream, but it's one I own, and it can show up. I can put it in playlists with streaming music. I can heart it, and Apple understands the recommendations. Like, oh, okay, I actually did get a playlist for an artist that isn't on Apple Music, one of those influences playlists on my For You, which was really cool. So it's clear that the software behind it is pretty extensive, and it's cool that it looks into your local iTunes library, because there's tons of people who have extensive iTunes libraries, and for whom something like this would be really great, especially if you look at their play counts on all the songs, which Apple's been keeping for like a decade now. You could Apple could probably get a really good sense of what kind of music you like, more than any of these other companies where they're just starting from scratch.
Mhm.
Overall, solid B plus. I'm a fan.
Okay.
It's really close to Spotify in my mind.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the first thing I did where I'm a big Pandora user, and what I do a lot is I bookmark songs that I really like and want to add to my library later. And a great test. I actually had about, what was it, 12 or 15 songs I had previously bookmarked, and I said I'm going to go between Spotify and Apple Music and see if they have these songs. And it was a pretty, there were songs from the 60s, songs from the 90s. I mean, it was a pretty good mix, and they both had all of them. So I think
Yep.
that, I don't think there's a huge difference in the libraries. All the same companies
Yeah,
sign the
I've
same
never
deals.
found. I think I might have found one artist, a really weird one that was on Spotify and on Apple Music, but I'm sure it goes, and I know for a fact it goes the other way also.
Yeah. So, my thoughts, I get it once you've played with it for a while. The single worst thing about it, I actually turned off one of the quote unquote best features, which was the Apple iCloud Music Library. Because The way it works, if you're
And
like,
what is that? Because I didn't understand what those words meant when it asked me about it.
yeah, well, Apple's done such a great job of defining how iCloud works that I'm not surprised. No, it's the idea, ignoring the new Apple Music. It's the idea that all of the music you have on your computer will be synced up into the iCloud.
And that is not.
To ones in Apple's be on my locked, and I spent dick around with all of it. Don't bother. But what that means is, if you disable that, and you can disable it in your settings, there's just a little toggle. It means that while I can stream music from Apple Music, I can't add any songs to my library because I'm not using iCloud Music Library. So I can't hit the save or the add to my library. So that's a big problem for me. It really is. I would love for iTunes Match to work perfectly, or for them to do what Google does and just upload all my music without asking questions. Or even allow me to go in and individually say this is a bad match, that is a bad match. Which it doesn't even let you do. It's kind of ridiculous for anyone who
I'm
was like...
I'm surprised it's so bad, because that's sort of an easy problem. Relative to facial recognition, song recognition is pretty easy, because there's so much data in the song to match it with.
Yeah, I just think... What I think is that it's not a matter of matching. I just don't think whatever database Apple has in its cloud is very good, is my guess. And I don't know why that is. Maybe it'll get better now that they have all these streaming rights to all this music, but it was just ripping apart my library. It took me about 3 seconds to realize, and I'm like, oh shit, it is not worth it. I'll just use Spotify if that's the case. So, like I said, you can still stream any song. You just can't add it to the library. I've been doing that with Amazon Prime Music for a while, because they let you add the Prime songs to your library in kind of the same manner where you don't own it, but it's part of your library. So, overall, I think it's fine. To be honest, using it in the same way I used to use the old version, which is just playing local music, it's pretty much the same. There's really no change. And I'll keep trying the new streaming stuff. I was just really annoyed at that didn't work. And one other quick thing I'll mention too is there's a neat little hack that Dan, I don't know, do you have any interest in Connect, the social side of it?
Oh yeah. Oh, that's right. Yes.
Yes, you have interest?
Yes, I do.
Okay. If you're like me and you don't, there is a way to hide it. It's kind of neat. Let me put up here on the screen so you at home can see this neat little... I don't take credit for this. Someone else discovered that this was a thing at some point. But what you can do is, in your settings, if you go into General, Restrictions, turn Restrictions on, and then down here there's Enable, Disable, and then you'll see Apple Music Connect.
Uh-huh.
And if you turn that off, what it does in the Music app is it replaces the Connect icon with a Playlists icon. To one tap, take you to Playlists, which I find way more useful than Connect, because I use Playlists all the time.
Uh-huh.
So a little trick, if you're not interested, you can just hide it completely and just use Playlists that way. So up to you at home, but if that suits your fancy, something you can do.
Yeah, I've been enjoying Connect so far. Even one of my weirdest bands I follow, Snarky Puppy, had a couple of Connect updates so far.
Anything good or just...
Well, one was really good. One was, one of the members of our band has a side project, and there's a link right in the thing to the Apple Music, artist page for the side project, and I really like that music too, so I added that. And then I think they're doing every week introduce a new member of the band with a post thing, which I don't really know any of the members of the band either, despite the fact I like their music. So it's been interesting. It's not life-changing, but these are things that I would like to know, but it's not like I'm going to go on Spotify and then man, Snarky Puppy's really good. I'm going to follow their band Twitter account or something like that. I'm just not going to think to do it. If Apple can do it for me, and especially with tour dates, Spotify does this pretty well. I would really like to know when they're going to be in my area.
So you can go see Snarky Puppy?
Yeah. Actually, I do know when they're going to be in my area.
I'm gonna have to
in
pull them up
August.
on Apple Music and take a listen.
Yeah, they're good. They're a super fusion-y jazz group. It's a lot of
You
fun.
had me at fusion-y jazz. Well, we spent the first 15 minutes of the show talking about Apple Music, but I think that's okay. There's no shame in that. But we do have news. Before that, of course, don'tpanic.io is the website. 10 p.m. Eastern on Mondays, we do this show. Someone tell Colby, because he seems to have forgotten. And, of course, at Don't Panic Show on Twitter. But go to the website. All the links to everything, where you can download, where you can follow all the past episodes. It's on our fantastic website, don'tpanic.io. Go there. But we've got to do news. Dan, where would you like to start this week?
I'm really excited about Amazon's Black Friday Day.
Oh my
or
God.
Prime Day.
I'm basically broke just thinking about it. Because Amazon Black Friday last year, I think, was the most money I spent in a single day.
Really?
Yes. Well, because I got a lot of Christmas gifts for other people. I mean, okay, it wasn't all for me. But I spent a lot of money because they do have really good deals. And they're going to do it again. So for their 20th birthday this year, Amazon is introducing Prime Day, what they call a, quote, global shopping event, end quote. They say more deals, better deals than Black Friday. It's going to be available midnight Eastern Standard Time in the U.S. on July 15th. Available to Prime customers in the U.S., UK, Spain, Japan, Italy, Germany, France, Canada, and Austria, for all our Austrian fans. New deals as fast as every 10 minutes and in every product category as well. The trick, it's only for Prime subscribers. So if you're not a Prime subscriber, you cannot get it. But you can sign up for a free 30-day membership prior to that and still get access to the offers. So it's kind of for everybody.
So, the problem with the Black Friday on Amazon for me has always been none of it is ever stuff. It's either like really, insignificant some discounts on otherwise inexpensive things anyways, or just like things I would never buy. Like it doesn't seem like you get like the hot game console or TV deals on Amazon.
Yeah,
That's just been my impression, though.
I think it's because it's such a wide array of things that are on sale. To be honest, people think like, oh, I'll just shop online for Black Friday. It's easier. To be honest, whether you wait in line at 3 a.m. at a store or you're refreshing Amazon every 30 seconds, it's a lot of effort to save on Black Friday. And the thing about Amazon is the sales have no order. They come at random times, and they are on completely random items. It'll be a necklace next to a power drill, next to a Blu-ray player, next to pants. And so it really does take a lot of effort to find the deals. Now, I got I got a television last year, and it was hundreds of dollars below even the normal Amazon price. I mean, the deal was outrageous, but I was on Amazon all day long watching these deals, and I think it sold out it was like 5 or 7 minutes it sold out in. So if you're willing to put in the effort, I'll be curious to see if Prime Day is kind of the same thing, or it's these lightning deals and they sell out fast in limited quantities. I think it's a little different because manufacturers actually prep for Black Friday, so they have a lot of extra product on hand to sell, and their discounted models are timed for Black Friday. So I'm curious how doing it in the middle of July impacts that sales cycle. And if Amazon can really offer really great products at low prices. Now, of course, this is one day, one time. It's not like every year. It might become that. So if they take a hit now, they're going to make it up in new Prime subscribers, people buying things other than the deals, things of that nature.
Yeah, the statistic, and I think this was actually revealed in that Amazon book that you recommended many shows ago, was that it's over twice as much money, right?
Yeah, Prime customers spend double the average amount of standard Amazon customers
more than
spend.
double.
Yeah.
So it goes 600 to 1,500. So if you can you can lose $500 on a Prime subscription, still come out ahead that year, and especially if they stay on for the next year.
Yeah.
So they could just eat the losses on all these things.
Yeah, I think, again, because it's a one-day event, I think, this is not something I think they could do every day, but this is such a great, it builds buzz, it gets attention for Amazon, I think Amazon has done a really great job of this Prime exclusive stuff where you're in the club, right? It's all about, if you're Prime, you are the cool kids. You're going to get all the perks you can handle. And I think if they can kind of keep that going, that's really going to... I actually, believe it or not, great timing. I had a coworker come to me today because I've been telling everybody how great Prime is. And he goes, oh my God, Sean, Prime is the best thing ever. And I'm like, oh my God, what? And he goes, the 2-day shipping, it's incredible. I can just order anything and it's here in 2 days. And I'm like, you get it. Like, people, I don't know. I'm a big fan of Prime, and I think this is a way for Amazon to get attention. I also think it's a cool way to kind of reward Prime customers, and I'm sure a lot of it will be stuff Amazon was going to try and get rid of anyway. Stuff they would have shipped off to Woot or something to kind of discount, and instead they kind of make it seem cool for Prime customers. I'll be buying a lot of stuff. Put it that way. I will guarantee it.
I want to be able to subscribe to different categories.
Yeah.
So, like, send me all the deals. Give me a push notification for all the, like, I don't know, home improvement deals on Prime Day. Mm-hmm. That would be great.
I agree.
All right, what do you want to talk about next, Sean?
What do I want to talk about? That's a really good question.
Got some Windows news in here.
Yeah, we got a little Windows news. We can talk about that quick. Windows 10, we've talked about this on the show. End of July, I thought it was July 21st or something like July 29th is the intended release date for Windows 10, Dan. But what if I told you not everyone's going to get it on the 29th?
What?
Not even most people.
Oh my gosh.
Microsoft
this is an outrage.
Is rolling out Windows 10 starting on the 29th. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Dan, when Apple pushes out an OS update, everyone just gets it.
Yeah, I suppose this still isn't as bad as Google, though, where you might not get it ever.
Oh, Android, and yeah, that can be rough. No, Windows 10, let's see, it says in here exactly, what they call Windows Insiders, the people who are like beta testing Windows 10, will get the update on July 29th. After that, remember we talked about on the show a couple weeks ago how all the Windows machines on Earth got a little pop-up like, reserve your copy of this free upgrade. And we were joking about, are they going to run out of supplies? Turns out our jokes were true. It actually will depend on if you went through the reservation process. You'll actually get the update before people who didn't. And then after that, it will continue to roll out. They don't state how long they expect it to take. So for me, the question is really why. My first thought is it's not ready. Most people find it hard to believe it'll be ready in July because they think that the time frame just doesn't kind of match up with logic. Some of the other side might just be it's not necessary because Windows users aren't as like excited to upgrade to Windows 10, so there's no need to push it all out on one day. Might as well take it slow and fix bugs as you go along. I don't know, Dan, do you have any theories?
No. Well, is this their first OS being delivered entirely digitally?
No. Actually, I know 8.1 was. I don't know if... I believe 8 was too. I mean, you can buy a Windows 8 box. You could, but I can't... That must have been... Because most people...
And this one's free, right?
Yeah, it's free, but 8... Going from 7 to 8 was free. No, going to 7 to 8 was not free. You're right. So,
right.
If you count free updates, 8.1 would have been the first.
And so 9 would be the first full OS update. So it'll be the largest that they are making available to everyone for free. And so maybe they're worried about like server capacity.
Well, yeah, and the other difference too is the 8.1 upgrade upgraded Windows 8 machines. Windows 10 is upgrading 8.1, 8, and Windows 7 machines as well. So it's a lot larger group of computers.
Yeah. So I bet that's what it is.
That's a really good thought. I hadn't thought of that. That's very good, Dan. Yes, that probably is a big piece of it. It is a massive upgrade. It's not, 8.1 added a few features and tweaked a few things, but this is a bigger update, and I guarantee it'll come out that this is the largest update they've ever pushed over Windows Update ever.
Oh yeah, definitely.
By a pretty healthy margin. So yeah, honestly, I think it's smart for them to take it slow. Again, I don't think anyone is clamoring for Windows 10. It doesn't fix any major problems that it needs to be out today. So I would rather them take their time and get it right and fix it as it goes along. And I don't know. I've always, and Microsoft really pushed this hard, but I've always liked this idea of the operating system shouldn't have numbers. It should just be what it is. And the update, kind of like Chrome OS, where the updates just happen in the background and you don't realize it, and there's no big fanfare. It just gets continuously better as time goes on. And I know Microsoft is trying a little bit. 8.1 was kind of an attempt to do that. But I'm optimistic that this is a good approach where they're just going to do it over time and iterate and make it better. I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see. I've got my reservations in.
Oh, that's right.
I signed up, so I'll be curious. I'll be checking off the days after the 29th, how long it takes me to get the update.
Yeah, it reminds me of the Apple Watch try-on reservations, except this
is way lamer.
Yeah, it's not a $10,000 watch.
And I'm sure there's not a massive line to get the Windows 10 upgrade. I'm gonna line up at midnight. Yeah, I remember I was really excited for the 8.1 upgrade. I was like hitting refresh on the computer.
Yeah.
I was really jazzed for that. Didn't make one bit of difference. All right, I picked one, Dan. I guess we'll go to you. What would you like to talk about next? We talk about Groove. We got BlackBerry and Android, updates to Snapchat, Facebook's new logo.
Oh man, I don't know anything about this BlackBerry thing. Has the word Venice in it, which sounds cool. I would love to go to Venice.
It's a great code name, in fact.
Okay.
The code name to BlackBerry's upcoming Android phone, potentially. Now, you may remember, I don't think we talked about this on the show because we try to avoid BlackBerry.
Why? Why do we try to avoid it?
I mean, there's not really much to say there until today.
We don't try to dwell on it.
Well, we try to forget is what it is. Back at Mobile World Congress in March, the BlackBerry CEO showed off on stage an Android-powered slider phone that they said they were making. Now, there were no details, really, other than the fact that it existed at the time. A high-resolution render of the device was posted online. It has those cool edge things like the Samsung S6 Edge has, where the screen kind of goes over both sides. It has a slider screen with a trademark BlackBerry keyboard, and it runs Android instead of BlackBerry. If the rumor is to be believed, it'll be coming to AT&T. There's not a lot more than that, to be honest. I don't know.
Does BlackBerry have all of their software on Android by now? Like, I know BBM is on Android. Do they have any other big software plays? I think they do. They have all that, all the device management stuff that Enterprise really likes BlackBerry for.
Yeah. I have no idea, to be honest. They haven't really said. I don't believe you can use it with any current Android phone. To be honest, that would be really giving away their competitive advantage if they were to release that for everybody. I guess unless they charged them a lot for the privilege.
Right. Well, I mean, if you make the enterprise side software Android compatible, you're not charging the consumer anything. You're charging the business,
right,
for the licenses to manage, people's devices they bring to work that they want to install enterprise software on, mail, VPN access, and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it would be. I mean, there are a couple ways I think BlackBerry could go with this, right? They say Android apps work, but it's a super customized under-the-hood version of Android that's kind of like what Amazon does with Fire, where, we have a separate app store. It's really customized, but it's great for business and security. Then I think they could do, all right, we'll port over some of the back-end features and make custom apps, but it's still the same Android, and we'll get over the updates from Google and all of that. And then I think they could say, we're just going Android, and we're just screw all the back-end stuff. Android security has gotten so good that there's no need for us to put all this effort and resources into keeping up our own back-end, and we'll just be a hardware manufacturer. You know, I think there's a whole range they could go.
Yeah, I don't. They definitely don't want to do the last one though.
I would hope not. I would hope not. But if things are really dire enough in BlackBerry Town, I mean, to be honest, if you're, I mean, I realize there are legacy enterprises who are using BlackBerry, but if you're a newer company or a company looking to switch, are you going to go to BlackBerry?
No.
So I think at some point, do you say enough is enough?
As a consumer of BlackBerry stuff,
Well, even as a corporation looking, because that's
right?
really their target. But is a corporation today? I guess if they're already on BlackBerry, they're going to have to do. I have to imagine changes and upgrades and things. I don't know. I guess BlackBerry would have to make it really easy for companies to stay on BlackBerry and use Android, and make Android back compatible with the
Which
BlackBerry backend.
which they could do, and that would be much more likely to succeed than uh, to get everyone to always use BlackBerry OS on mobile devices, and it'd also be more likely to succeed than just making hardware for Android and getting out of the software business entirely.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's really hard to do. You don't see consumer electronics companies don't just enter into spaces and dominate.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I almost don't know if they even need a hardware for consumers to use. Like,
Right.
I just it's I know people kind of like the BlackBerry keyboard and what have you, but I don't know. I think if they just come out and just say we've made an Android phone, that is not enough because a lot of people make Android phones. So ours has a keyboard is not a good sales argument. I would be curious to know how they can really sell Android. And are they going to keep making BlackBerry OS alongside too, which is a big question, right? Are they abandoning that and going to Android? Are they dual selling both, which would be insane?
Yeah, I don't think you can't really abandon BlackBerry OS, right? So we still have every major bank is still running on software written in the 60s.
Yeah.
So BlackBerry OS is here to stay.
Yeah, you're right. And I'll tell you, there are a lot of people I know in Europe, a lot of people in the Middle East. I see Blackberries on those guys all the time. I don't think the U.S. is a fair representative of the world's use of BlackBerry. I believe it's higher in other countries too. So that's something to think about. I don't know. I think it'll be interesting. It's a big change, and I give them credit. I mean, they're a company that's quickly running out of options, and I give them credit for trying. I think it's all in the implementation. Can they roll it out?
Yeah.
All right. Let us continue then. Talk about the news. Let's talk about Groove quick. This was in the news today. Dan, I know you're a big fan of Xbox Music.
Yeah.
Because we needed another music service in our lives. It's getting a little out of control.
The number of music services getting out of control?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little zany for my taste, but but there's another one. So Microsoft decided,
Yahoo Music, though. Don't forget Yahoo Music.
is that still a thing?
Is it still a thing?
Oh, I remember is and there's even there's Rdio, there's Groove Shark, there's
Groove Shark is
Tidal.
now finally dead.
Okay, good.
Because
Finally
they got
killed
sued
one.
out of existence.
And Tidal comes up behind it, so that's the new one. And there's
Is Rhapsody Music still
there was
kicking?
Rhapsody. There was what's the one I'm thinking of? Napster was one for a while. I think they're gone.
Yeah, Rhapsody's still around.
Oh God. Oh, Pandora, really, to some degree.
Google Music.
Oh, Google Music, Amazon Music. Oh my God. Well, Dan, get excited. Xbox Music is no more. It is now Groove. That's the rebranding. It's basically the same service as before. It's launching. Groove is launching alongside Windows 10. It is see if this sounds familiar. A paid subscription music streaming services.
Oh,
where you
okay.
can stream and download music from the Windows Store and play it on devices including Windows devices, Xbox console, Android, and iPhone handsets. Now, what's cool, I think, about this is if you put music in your Microsoft OneDrive, it
Yep.
actually automatically knows and includes it in Groove.
Oh, okay.
Microsoft is really liberal about giving away space on OneDrive.
Yeah, I've noticed.
I have an Office 365 subscription. I have unlimited storage, unlimited, and they make a point to remind me of
Nice.
that. So I could put a lot of music there. I actually might even try this, only because it's not just to
Yeah.
see if I like
How
it.
many days would it take to upload your music library from your home?
Oh, I have such a shitty. I get if I'm lucky, I get 2 megabits up. My down is okay. My up is, I used to have fiber when I lived in New York. I had 25 up. It was amazing.
Right.
Oh
Right.
my god, it's so bad. That's what you get for living in the middle of nowhere. Yeah, so get excited. Also, alongside this, with music being rebranded as Groove, Xbox Video will now simply be called Movies and TV, where you can download movies and television shows and import your own collections as well. And again, this will be part of the Windows 10 release, which people will get God knows when. Let's see. We've got time for one more story. Dan, we can talk about Snapchat, Facebook's new logo, or the secrets hiding in El Capitan beta code.
Let's do the secrets hiding because I still don't understand Snapchat and the logo thing is dumb.
Dan, I agree. Logo thing is dumb, and the only thing you need to know about the Snapchat update is you have to hold down your finger to play the snaps, and when you release your
Yeah,
finger,
and it confused me because I thought everything was broken. I was like, I was holding it.
you were tapping it. Why is it still playing?
The worst thing, why can't it just, when you hold it down, just pretend that you tapped it?
Well,
Then no one has to change. The new people coming out, they're not confused about the holding thing. People who do the holding, they don't have to learn a new way. It wouldn't be that hard.
I'm sorry, Dan. I will put your displeasure on note with the Snapchat folks and let them know.
Thank you.
Dan Miller,
Thank
Dan Miller, power user of Snapchat,
you.
is not happy. So let's talk about this. OS 10 El Capitan. The beta was released, and 9 to 5 Mac scoured the beta code as they tend to do to get a glimpse at what might be coming for Apple, and they found some stuff. So starting with a new, smaller iMac with Retina display. So right now, we've talked about this before, the 27-inch iMac with a 5K display. But if you don't want such a large, expensive computer, the rumor is that the 21.5-inch iMac, the smaller one, could come with a 4K Retina screen in the next model. I don't think that's particularly surprising. When Apple does Retina, they tend to roll it out across all the devices as time goes on. It was on the iPad first and then came to the iPad mini, on the MacBook, and then went to MacBook Air. So
Yeah.
I don't think that's a big surprise. But still, that'll be nice at a lower price point. I hope at a lower price point. I mean,
Yeah,
those displays are expensive.
Yeah, that's a crazy amount of pixel density, too.
I wonder if it's going to look as good on a smaller machine.
Yeah, why not?
I mean, do you need it? I guess is my point. Like, is it going to be worth the extra to get the 4K? I know Mac users, they already spend enough. Who cares? They're just burning money. But it's kind of like when they did Retina on the iPad and then on the iPad mini, it was kind of like, well, by the time you get to the mini, it's not a huge difference.
It totally is.
Okay.
You can hold them side by side and know.
You're right.
I'm staring at my poor ancient 27-inch not Retina display like some crazy person.
So that's what I don't understand. Why don't they release a 27-inch 5K cinema display? Maybe they will, but it's
I don't know.
they make they have the panels. Like, I'm not saying make a big one or make an Apple TV. I'm just saying a 27-inch monitor. You're doing it.
Yeah.
That's a little crazy.
Well, so do you want to know the reason they don't do that, actually?
I would love to know the reason.
The reason is that there does not exist a connector that can power a 5K display.
I didn't think of that. Dan Miller's on the ball tonight.
Yeah, so because I've been reading up on this because I'm like, well, I'm not going to get a 5K iMac because I'm just going to wait for a 5K monitor to come out. Uh,
USB Type C or Thunderbolt 3 can't push that. They'll get
um,
there, but
Thunderbolt 3 can, but most Macs don't have it, right? So I don't have a Mac new enough to power
mm,
display if they came out with it. It's only uh, the newest. No, I think it's only the Mac Pro
yeah,
that could do it. Yeah.
yeah, I think you're right. And I don't think, yeah, it's also too, it's the connector, but it's also the chipset too, because I think USB-C can handle that, if I remember correctly. But I don't think there's enough graphics power in
Right.
your standard
But then the
MacBook.
thing you do is you actually, I think how this works is you have Thunderbolt going over USB 3.
Yeah,
So if you have a Thunderbolt 3 controller on your motherboard in your computer, then you can it's because everything's digital, Sean. Nothing matters anymore.
it's all ones and twos.
Right, exactly.
Hey Dan, how would you like to talk to a fan of the show? We have one on the line now. Let's speak to him. It's none other than Colby Rabideau.
Hey there,
Hello.
man.
Hey.
What's up?
Nice of you to join us.
Yeah, I made it. I made it.
Hope you didn't rush home on our account.
I didn't. I had to come home at some point.
I was about to say somebody got a 4-day weekend, 3-day weekend. I don't know, long weekend certainly.
I
No,
had a Tuesday night, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday
Oh
weekend.
my god, that
Yeah.
what?
Yeah, it was intense.
You tech
That's
guys,
crazy.
I don't believe it.
I took Wednesday off. Oh no, I took
Wow.
Wednesday and Thursday off. Yeah, that's what I did.
Wow.
Good for you.
Feels good.
It does feel good, and it feels good to have Colby here. Colby, you came here just in time. We're on the last story before we get to picks.
Nice.
Just under the wire, we're talking about OS 10 El Capitan and the things hiding in the beta code. We just talked 4K displays, and now we're going to talk about references to a Bluetooth remote that may have an infrared sensor, a multi-touch trackpad, and potentially force touch support. It may also have audio support, though it's unclear if that means audio playback or having a microphone to listen to audio, but the uneducated random guess would be that would be part of the next Apple TV or some similar device, especially with the infrared sensor would mean it'd be compatible to work with your TV and other infrared devices in your home. So it would be sort of a multi-use device, which would be great. I love, I think it was Dan, my Harmony remote is awesome. I love it. Having one remote that does everything, it's magic. So I think Apple would be very smart to include that.
Yeah, and the thing I liked the most about the Fire TV was the voice control stuff, and I think Siri could do that really well.
Well, and then you bring in HomeKit, right? And hypothetically, you're using this remote to control stuff all over your house.
Yeah.
Then you're really talking like putting the pieces together.
Yeah. Yeah.
Although your phone can do a lot of that too.
And I was realizing a couple days ago that if you use the Apple Watch as an Apple TV remote, you have a force touch remote. If you force touch on the menu button, that's equivalent to holding it down. It kicks you all the way back to the home screen. Interesting.
Could be very interesting on a standalone remote.
Yeah.
Fancy. That's cool.
Yeah. I think that's exciting. I don't know. I've never really had a problem with Apple TV, but I've also never really gotten excited about it. I have my Roku and I love it, and I tried Amazon TV and I thought it was fine. I don't know. I think a good remote is missing from a lot of these boxes. I don't think anyone's really taken the time to figure out. They're all kind of the same idea. I know many weeks on the show I picked the Ray Super Remote. Do you remember that?
No.
Which was the touch screen. It was basically like an iPod Touch, but it was just a remote for your TV. But it was just a big touch screen sort of controller. It was $200 and it was pre-ordered. It was a pre-order kind of Kickstarter-y type thing, but it had a
Yeah, see, it's still on pre-order.
Yeah. I did not put down money on this, by the way. I want to say for the record. I did not do
okay.
that. I know better. After all the use I get out of my coin, I'm gonna leave this one alone. But this is what I want out of a TV remote. Like, that is super awesome. So if I could get this, I would definitely be in favor. If Apple would do something similar.
Yeah.
Nice.
All right. Cool. I guess we're gonna move on to picks. And talk about those. Dan, I'm gonna have you go first because I'm curious about your thoughts on this.
Okay. So month, 2 months ago, I think it was, about 2 months ago, I listened to a podcast that Sean, the morning stream, Sean told me about. Where have you been listening recently, Sean, or have you fallen off the bandwagon entirely?
I jump on and off, but I know they're doing their Heroes of the Storm tournament, and that's a
right.
big,
Okay, yeah. So that when they were talking about it was when I got it sort of. I was like, oh, okay. I wonder if this is a cool game. So I had played Dota 2 before, and it was just so complicated. There's like different skill trees and items you can buy depending on the skills you get, and these different like stores around the map and all this stuff. So to back up, basically the way this whole genre of games works, called MOBAs, I don't know what that stands for though, is every person, it's a top-down view, every person picks a hero, and then you click around the map like Diablo style, and you have to farm up some experience and then, push down all the enemies' defenses and destroy their little center fortress thing. But Heroes of the Storm takes away all the complicated bits. There's no store. There's no skill tree. All the experience that you get is shared amongst your team always, no matter where you are on the map. So you don't have individual experience bars. You just have the team experience bar. It makes it way easier to play, way more fun to play, because you don't have to spend days and days figuring out how everything works and memorizing all the right skill trees and the items that you should pair with which skills and all that. You don't need any of that. As someone who's always liked Blizzard games, it's really cool to be able to play as like Uther against Diablo from two totally different universes. So that's sort of like fun in a nerd way. But this is also the first game I've really gotten into watching on Twitch. So, a couple times, less recently, but for a while, a couple weeks ago, I was watching Twitch like, every night while I ate dinner, you put a Twitch streamer on for an hour. There's tournaments that happen, and I got to watch the North American Open Invitational Tournament thing. It was super cool. So anyways, it's also free. So you can download Heroes of the Storm, link on don'tpanic.io, and play it for free. I mean, it's sort of a freemium thing. You can buy characters instead of waiting to earn them. But it's free to try out and play around with, and it's tons of fun. Heroes of the Storm.
Cool.
Nice.
Yeah, that's great. I was trying to think of what
Maybe
I wanted.
we'll have our Don't Panic Heroes of the Storm team.
I would definitely try it. I have been wanting to try Hearthstone, which is Blizzard's new card game. And I was because I feel like that's a little more my speed. But if you say this is if I can play this and suck and be okay, then that's maybe not be okay, but
We should try.
I would be down for trying.
Okay.
I think that's something I would be willing to do. All right, I'm going to jump in next, and we'll let Colby have the last word this evening. My pick this week is an old favorite of mine. Think back to the 90s, right? Mm-hmm. You were jamming on Chumbawamba and, reading your Teen Bop magazine and other 90s references I'm not thinking of. Watching E.T. No, that's not even the 90s. I don't even know what I'm going
What was
to.
that stupid temple show that everyone reminisces about?
Oh, Legends of the Hidden Temple.
Yeah, that one.
With your Skechers and reading your Encyclopedia
Skechers?
Britannica. I don't know.
I still have Skechers.
Skechers are great. They're quality footwear. Getting hit with your GAC. I don't know. Whatever. It was the 90s. And BattleBots was on television. You remember BattleBots, the show where people would build these crazy robots with like spinning blades and hammers and like saws and all this crazy stuff, and they'd have their little remote controls, and they'd crash into each other and shoot fire and all this stuff. I loved it. I thought it was so cool. And then it was really popular for a little while. It kind of petered out, and people just stopped caring. But apparently they've been doing it like just not on TV. I guess this is an actual like leagues and winners and stuff. Well, this summer ABC has brought back BattleBots, and it is just as great as I remember it. It's a little cheesier and a little more overproduced and a little more, like they have like the commentators, and it's a little overdone, but the fights are awesome. And you see the robots, like the spinning blade, and it zooms up and, blows up the other robot. It's great. I love it. And it's just as good. One of the few times they've brought something back, and it's as good as I remember it being. So I would highly recommend. It's on ABC Sunday nights, but they've already done a couple episodes in the tournament. So I'm sure they're online somewhere. I didn't bother to look, but probably Hulu or ABC.com. Honestly, it's actually a pretty good time and pretty interesting. So if you're looking for something fun this summer, that's a good fun summer TV pick. Is to watch BattleBots just beat the hell out of each other. You're really curling your toes on the edge of your seat, and I got yelled at because I was screaming too loud because I was so excited. So, as I'm one to do. So I recommend BattleBots on ABC this summer and online as well. So check that out.
Nice.
Get pumped for that. Speaking of robots, Colby, tell us about your pick.
Yeah, so I recently started reading a new book that I subsequently finished because it was not that long. But it was the first book in the Foundation series by Isaac Asimov. And so Isaac Asimov is if you have not heard of them, if you haven't heard of him from anything else, his work was the basis for I, Robot, that movie that Will Smith was in a while ago with the robots that like tried to kill everyone. And I don't know how closely that movie tied in with the books, but that's a different thing entirely. But this guy also wrote those. But in any case, I started reading the Foundation series. And it's very interesting. It's not worth explaining, I don't think. But there's like a galactic empire, and I don't know, this crazy backstory, and it takes place over like hundreds of years, and you like jump between hundreds of like 100-year or like 50-year increments in the history of what's going on, and it's kind of cool. It's like a series. There's many books. I don't know how many books there are. I finished the first one really fast in like 2 or 3 days because they're pretty short, and it was pretty nice. And I finished the first one and immediately bought the second one because I couldn't stop. But I've been enjoying that so far. So it's like sci-fi. So if you're into that sort of thing, or maybe if you're not, you will be after you read it.
Yeah, 4.3 stars on Amazon. It's and it's $4 on Kindle. So,
Indeed,
a low price of admission to try it out. Foundation. The link will be on don'tpanic.io as well. If you're interested in reading some sci-fi, I think we tend to have some pretty good book picks on the show. So, stay with the Don't Panic Book Club and get our latest read. What was the Reading Rainbow? But you don't have to take my word for it. Visit your local library. Cool. All right. Well, Colby, I want to give you the opportunity. You came in late. You missed most of the discussion. Is there something that you want to say, you want to talk about? I want to make sure you have a chance to voice your thoughts and opinions on the tech news of the week.
We had a pretty big Apple Music
yeah, we spent like 15 minutes on it. It was.
Man, I'm gonna have to go back and rewatch that because I'm really interested to know what you guys think.
Well, we're interested to know what you think.
Yeah.
I mean, I used it a little bit. I started like I think I signed up for it before everything was live, so like nothing was working, kind of. So that was a little weird. So I just like gave up on that and went to work. And then I came back to it like a day or two later. And started like trying to add things to my collection. I did find a couple of things that weren't available on Apple Music that I had on Spotify, which was pretty discouraging. And I mean, they were like kind of weird, like more obscure things. But I was not expecting that to happen. I was expecting everything to be there. Perhaps that was foolish of me. But in general, I just haven't used it that much. To be honest, because I've been riding my bike instead of taking the train, I don't spend as much time like bored in front of my phone, so I haven't like had a ton of time to like sit down and actually get my library from Spotify into Apple Music to actually use it. But I don't know. Can you give me the
short version?
I'll
take a stab at it, and Dan, you can correct me if I miss anything. I think we both agreed the design was kind of whack. There were a lot of kind of design choices that didn't make a lot of sense. And you got it once you used it after a while, but at first glance it's kind of confusing. Dan really liked the playlists that they generated and thought they were good. Dan also liked the morning show on Beats One with the British guy. I thought
the Beats one.
I turned most of the features off because iCloud Music Library tried to rewrite all the songs in my iTunes and replace them with other music, and so I turned it off.
So I had an interesting experience where I got kind of upset that all my other music was there at all. Like, I wish I could just delete all the stuff that is in like the Apple Cloud that I like purchased, like all those free songs of the week that I downloaded when I was like 14. Like, I don't want those in there. They're trash.
But Apple does that so weird. Like I was telling Dan, if Apple, because the way it works is it makes a match to the file in the cloud, so it doesn't upload your music, it just matches it and unlocks it for you.
Right.
But it doesn't make good matches, and there's no way to individually correct and say this is a bad match. What? Like, that's crazy. And so I had to turn that off, which means I can stream music, but I can't add anything to my library, which kind of defeats the purpose in many ways. So right now I'm mostly using Spotify still.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think it's a mixed bag. I think it's going to be just I think, again, we talked about this, 3 months is a period of time that you want to give for the free trial because you really want to use it often and really learn the ins and outs and try all the different, because there are a lot of features.
Yeah.
And Dan liked what? Spanking puppies? What was it?
No, Sean. No. Don't Google that, kids.
No, what?
Snarky puppies.
Snarky puppies. Okay, I was close.
Sean, you're a monster.
That's what Dan said. Don't look at me.
And I did like doing the Apple, the Connect. Some of my, the artists I like, and I don't like well-known artists, are actually posting things on Connect, and I've been interested in what they've had to say.
That's cool. Yeah, I could be interested in that. And I think like some of the design, I haven't used it that much, but I think there are a bunch of rough edges between like what was iTunes and what is Apple Music, and like where is the line and why is there a line?
Yeah, and you throw iCloud in there, and then it's like
right, and then it's like I have no idea what's going on. So I think some of those will probably get kind of smoothed over as we see the kind of patches to, I don't know, as time goes on with future iOS releases.
Yeah. So
hopefully some of that stuff will get better. But
and I think it's going to come to the point where you're just going to have to pick one music service and live or die with it, because like it's such a you build your library with one service and then like you want to move to a whole nother one. It's crazy.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and it's so daunting. Like I've won. The way I do Spotify is like I always like Spotify's like star feature where you could like just star things and they'd get added to your starred playlist, and it was super easy. And they've been like trying to downplay that, it seems, over the last like year or two. But I really like that, so I still use the starred playlist, and that's what I listen to I have like 100 songs in my starred playlist, and that's what I listen to. And then I have like a backup. I have a superset playlist of all the songs that have ever been in my starred playlist.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
But I don't know. Like, I don't even know how to begin porting that to Apple Music. It's. I guess functionally it's the same because now Spotify doesn't even have the star button anymore. So you have to just add it to the playlist, which is super annoying. So it wouldn't be any less annoying to do in Apple Music.
You don't add it to, what do they call it in Spotify? You don't add to your collection or whatever?
Yeah, library.
No, I think my collection is
your music
thing. Yeah. I mean, the collection could almost be the other playlist that is all of the songs I've ever starred, perhaps. But I like to keep like albums and stuff in my collection, like things that I'd like to, like bigger chunks of things that I listen to.
Mm-hmm.
The starred playlist is very important to me, and Spotify's disregard or their disdain towards it makes me sad.
Aw. Well, on that positive note, I think we've got to conclude the show. Thanks to everyone out there for watching. We appreciate it. As always, don'tpanic.io is the website. You can get everything Don't Panicky there, and you can check that out. I would also recommend on the website links to follow us, social media, at Don't Panic Show on Twitter. And, of course, all the places you can listen to the show, iTunes, Stitcher, the RSS feed, and, of course, the video on YouTube as well. Yeah, we'll be back next Monday night, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific time to talk more tech news. Until then, on behalf of Colby and Dan, I will wish everyone out there a fair good night. We'll see you next week.